Hey gang, welcome back to another EDH gameplay video brought to you by me, MTG Monster. This week we have an interesting matchup featuring Jeff, myself, and my friend Matt. Jeff is playing Thrun, I am playing Daretti, and Matt is playing Erebos. For openers, Jeff keeps a hand of Kadama's Reach, Reclamation Sage, Hornet Queen, Solemn Simulacrum, and 3 forests. My hand has Rings of Brighthearth, Tormod's Crypt, Contagion Engine, Commander Sphere, Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, and 2 mountains. Matt kept a hand with Mindstone, Swamp, Soul Ring, Bojuka Bog, Mind Twist, and Profane Command. Matt wins the die roll, so let's begin. Matt's first turn is explosive, with him playing a Swamp, tapping for a Soul Ring, and then tapping the Soul Ring to play a Mindstone, enabling him to cast an Erebos on turn 2. In comparison, my Valakut the Molten Pinnacle coming into play tapped looks kind of slow. Similarly, Jeff plays a forest and passes his turn. Drawing Deserted Temple for his turn, Matt plays it and then immediately casts Erebos. Lacking anything exciting in my hand, I play a mountain and cast Tormod's Crypt, passing turn. Jeff plays a Mishra's Factory and passes. Since the start of the game, Matt doesn't do something and just plays Urborg before passing his turn. Trying to keep up with all his mono-black ramp, I play a mountain, cast Command Sphere, and then pass to Jeff. On Jeff's turn, being sick of being the slowest deck despite being mono-green, Jeff plays a forest and casts Reclamation Sage, targeting Matt's Soul Ring. Matt responds by floating 6 mana, drawing 3 cards, and taking 6 damage. Unfazed by Jeff's hate, Matt plays a Swamp and casts Necrotic Ooze. For my turn, I cast Daretti, using his +2 to pitch Contagion Engine and Mirrorworks, drawing 2 cards. One of those cards happens to be Mana Vault, and I decide to do a bit of ramping of my own. For his turn, Jeff plays a forest during his main phase, and then moves to combat, swinging Reclamation Sage at Daretti, dealing 2 damage to the planeswalker. During his second main phase, he casts Solemn Simulacrum, finding himself another basic forest. Matt plays a Swamp for his first main phase, and decides to jump on the Daretti hate train, swinging Necrotic Ooze and killing my planeswalker. As if that wasn't enough, he follows up in his second main phase by casting Nirkana Revenant, essentially turning all of his lands into tapping for 2 black mana. Tired of being the punching bag of the table, I play a mountain and then cast All Is Dust, blowing up all colored permanents. Take that, you jerks. For my second main phase, I cast Codex Shredder, a card I've come to really enjoy, but not so much in this game. Jeff retaliates by activating Mishra's Factory and swings him and Solemn Simulacrum at me for 4 damage. His second main phase sees Thrun hit the field. Matt's turn is pretty uneventful, he casts Jet Medallion and passes. On my upkeep, I choose to pay the 4 mana to untap Mana Vault. I hit my land drop in the form of Reliquary Tower. This enables me to cast Rings of Brighthearth without tapping Mana Vault, and I pass turn. For his first main phase, Jeff casts Kadama's Reach, getting a forest to the field and 1 to his hand. As he has not played a land for the turn, Jeff uses the forest that he found with Kadama's Reach to hit the field. Moving to his combat step, he swings Thrun at Matt and Solemn at me. He casts Harmonize in his second main phase and passes turn. Playing a Swamp for his turn, and with the help of the Jet Medallion, Matt is able to cast Pestilence Demon for 7. He passes turn. At the end of his turn, I use Codex Shredder to dump a mountain from my library into the graveyard. For my main phase, I cast Burnished Heart. Sacrificing Burnished Heart to its ability, I pay 2 mana to copy it with Rings of Brighthearth, getting 4 mountains to the field. Some of you may remember my earlier video with Hazazon, Carador, and Wart. This time we actually checked the rules again, and thanks to your comments, we realized that all 4 of the mountains would see each other and trigger Valakut. I used 2 of the triggers to kill Pestilence Demon, 1 to kill Solemn, and 3 to hit Jeff in the face, and I pass my turn. Uncomfortable with the prospect of an active Rings of Brighthearth on the field, Matt and Jeff begin discussing how to get rid of the troublesome artifact. During his first main phase, Jeff drops a forest and casts Arbor Elf. He continues his trend of ramping, casting Worn Power Stone and Mind Stone. He moves to combat and swings Thrun at me for 4 damage. He casts Beast Within on Rings of Brighthearth, essentially trading the artifact for a 3/3 beast, a trade that I don't think anyone in their right mind would ever make. For his main phase, Matt decides to continue the pain train on me and drops Bojuka Bog, exiling all of my goodies from the graveyard. I share some less than complimentary words with the guys, and Matt follows that up by casting Harvester of Souls. At the end of turn, I use Codex Shredder again and dump Nerenthal's Disc into my graveyard. On my upkeep, I take 1 from Mana Vault being tapped. In my first main phase, I drop Big Daddy Ugin and use his -6 ability to exile all colored permanents that cost 6 or less. Getting some sweet revenge, I smash Jeff in the face for 3 with the beast that he gave me. Jeff immediately makes me regret this decision by swinging Mishra's Factory and killing Ugin. For his second main phase, Jeff casts Cultivate and follows that with Hornet Queen, passing to Matt. On Matt's turn, we see the second appearance of Erebos, but then nothing else, and he passes turn. On my upkeep, I pay 4 mana to untap Mana Vault. I make a bit of a mistake, using Codex Shredder on my upkeep, milling myself for Karn. With nothing to do and incredibly salty, I pass my turn to Jeff. Drawing a land and playing it for his turn, Jeff activates Mishra's Factory and sends 4 damage at both myself and Matt. Never one to stop ramping, Jeff casts Yavimaya Elder, and Thrun joins the field again. At the end of Jeff's turn, Matt pays 4 life, 4 mana to draw 2 cards. During his first main phase, Matt casts Black Sun Zenith for 4, which actually works out to be costing him 1 less because of Jet Medallion, giving all of our creatures -3/-3. Jeff sacrifices Yavimaya Elder to get the lands to his hand and draw a card. Matt's second spell, Sorin Markov, is probably one of everyone's favorite black planeswalkers. He uses Sorin's first minus ability to drop Jeff to 10 life. On my upkeep, I sacrifice Codex Shredder to return Ugin to my hand. Playing my mountain for the turn, I target Matt and redirect it to Sorin. Daretti also gets a second chance to shine. Using his second ability, I swap Tormod's Crypt for Codex Shredder. I then pass turn. On Jeff's turn, he sacrifices Mind Stone to draw an additional card. Before moving to combat, he activates Mishra's Factory and swings it at me and Thrun at Daretti. Paying 10 mana for Profane Command, Matt returns Pestilence Demon and I take 8 to the face. On my upkeep, I do something similar to last turn, sacrificing Codex Shredder to return Karn to my hand. Paying 7, I cast Karn and deal with Pestilence Demon once and for all. Almost as if his hand was perfectly sculpted to screw me over, Jeff flashes in Wolfear Avenger at the end of my turn. For his main phase, he casts Rancor on the Avenger, activates Mishra's Factory, and goes to combat. He swings the Avenger at Matt, dealing 5 damage, and sends the rest of his team to kill Karn. For his second main phase, Jeff casts Natural Order, sacrificing Thrun. He finds Woodfall Primus and blows up my Valakut Molten Pinnacle. Super rude, Jeff. He brings Thrun back and passes turn. Seeing Jeff's massive board, Matt casts Silence the Believer during his first main phase, paying 3 extra to choose an extra target. He exiles Primus and the Avenger. He sacrifices Mind Stone to draw a card without taking 2 life like you would from Erebos. On my turn, I cast Sensei's Divining Top, and then cast Karn Silver Golem afterwards. I activate Top to see the top 3 cards in my library, and then sacrifice Commander Sphere to draw that top card I put back. I cast Toper Orb and pass to Jeff. Jeff's turn sees him play Mox Diamond, pitching a land, and then moving to combat step. He activates Mishra's Factory and swings both the land and Thrun at me. I block Thrun with Karn and take 2 from the factory. With nothing else, he passes to Matt. For his land, Matt drops High Market and then plays Overseer of the Damned. His first ability doesn't trigger because of Toper Orb, however. He passes turn. My turn, I find a bit more action, casting Unstable Obelisk and then Kuldotha Forgemaster. Being unable to activate Forgemaster, I pass to Jeff. Jeff's main phase continues the trend of unnecessary ramp, and he casts Gilded Lotus before moving to combat. He activates Mishra's Factory, but forgets that I have Kuldotha Forgemaster on the field now. He chooses not to attack, and passes. At the end of Jeff's turn, Matt uses Erebos' ability, loses 2 life, and draws a card. During his first main phase, he plays a Swamp, and then casts Chainer, Dementia Master. Matt then pays 3 mana and 3 life to bring back Nirkana Revenant, with Chainer's ability. With Erebos now active, he moves to combat, swinging the Overseer and Erebos at me. Not feeling like taking 10, I block Erebos with Karn. During my first main phase, I cast Sculpting Steel, copying Mana Vault. With the 6 from the Mana Vaults and 2 lands, I recast Ugin, dealing with Matt and Jeff's troublesome cards. Matt responds by using High Market to kill Chainer. I then use Kuldotha Forgemaster's ability to sacrifice the 2 tap Mana Vault and the Unstable Obelisk to go find a card. I make a huge error in judgment and go and find Mire Battlesphere. We don't realize it until Jeff's turn, but I don't actually get the Mires, which we do remedy in a second. So on Jeff's main phase, he casts Hermit Druid, which is supposed to get him squirrels. The trigger makes us think of Toper Orb, which we then realize means that I don't get the Mires, and they come off field. Not super content with his expensive Hermit Druid, Jeff casts Thrun again. Moving to combat, he activates Mishra's Factory again and swings at Matt, who now has no blockers. Deciding to go big or go home, which is kind of ironic since we're actually at his place, Matt decides to cast Bubbling Muck. Tapping all his lands except for his High Market, Matt floats 16 black mana. He starts off by casting Liliana Vess for only 4 mana because of the Jet Medallion. He casts Solemn Simulacrum, who fails to find a swamp because of Toper Orb, but Matt has bigger plans in mind. Using Liliana Vess's minus ability, Matt searches for a card and puts it on top of his library. He taps High Market, sacrificing Solemn Simulacrum, gaining 1 life and drawing the card he just put on top of his library. With his remaining 8 mana and the reduction from Jet Medallion, Matt casts Rise of the Dark Realms. He nets himself a pretty sweet board state, but loses any of the Enter the Battlefield effects. Facing down lethal for both myself and Jeff, I have only one play in mind, and I sacrifice Toper Orb, Kuldotha Forge Master, and Mire Battlesphere, searching for an artifact. I find Ring of 3 Wishes and activate it to search for another card. I find Scrap Mastery and immediately cast it. In response to my own spell, I float 3 mana from Basalt Monolith before letting it resolve. Although Matt and Jeff gain Soul Rings and Mind Stones, I get a substantial benefit to my board. Matt also gets to draw 2 cards off the Solemn's Dying, but that's not really a big deal for me. Unfortunately, due to my earlier play, Toper Orb comes in with Mire Battlesphere, and I don't get the tokens. Also, Sculpting Steel comes into play, but because it enters the battlefield as everything else does, it doesn't become anything and just sits on the field as a blank card. Floating 1 red from Commander's Sphere, I sacrifice it to draw a card. Tapping Mana Vault, I then use the 7 mana to trigger Unstable Obelisk's activated ability, killing Hornet Queen. On his upkeep, Jeff plays for Hermit Druid's Echo Cost. Jeff then casts Plow Under, targeting Urborg and High Market. Matt responds by sacrificing Mind Stone to draw a card. Deciding to be further rude to more people, Jeff casts Songs of the Dryad, targeting my Mire Battlesphere. God damn it, Jeff. To the surprise of literally no one, Matt draws an Urborg and plays it for his land. He forces me to discard the card in my hand using Liliana's first ability. Sticking to the discard theme, he casts Myojin of the Night's Reach from his hand. He goes to combat, swinging Reclamation Sage and Yavimaya Elder at me. I block the Elder, but Matt does not use its ability. Instead, he just lets it go to the graveyard and gets to go find 2 basics. On my upkeep, rather than take 1, I pay to have Mana Vault untap. I was lucky enough to draw Unwinding Clock for my turn, which I play during my first main phase. I activate Kuldotha Forge Master again, searching my library for an artifact. I find the only card that can pretty much save me, Darksteel Forge. With it on the field and all of my artifacts being safe, I used Nerenthal's Disc to blow up the board. Matt responds by sacrificing Necrotic Ooze to Yavimaya Elder's ability in the graveyard. He's also quick to point out that Myojin of Night's Reach has the divinity counter on it, making it indestructible. Jeff also responds, regenerating Thrun. Jeff angrily draws a forest and passes turn. I pop Disc again at the end of his turn to force Jeff to use his mana to regenerate Thrun. For Matt's turn, he draws and then casts Grey Merchant of Asphodel, draining each of us for 7. As a result of this, I die. Moving to combat, Matt swings Myojin at Jeff, but he activates Mishra's Factory and blocks it. During his second main phase, he uses Liliana's ability to go find a card and put it on top of his library. Jeff performs the top deck ritual, hoping that he hits something good. Drawing nothing relevant, he passes back to Matt. With the blood already in the water, Matt moves straight to combat and swings both of his creatures at Jeff. Jeff responds by casting Summoning Trap to see the top 7 cards of his library and hopefully hit a creature. He finds Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, who I'm told is a pretty darn good creature. At the end of the declare attack step, Matt go for the throats him though. With Jeff at 1, Matt casts Consuming Spirit, draining the rest of Jeff's life. Whew, what a game, guys. 3 different kinds of commanders, a planeswalker, an enchantment, and a creature. Ooh, goodness. Jeff actually forgot to bring his own EDH decks that night. He brought his cube instead, and we had to make an EDH deck out of the green cards from his cube. It worked quite well, and Thrun can be a decent commander for mono green. He's hard to interact with from other players, and he's got that built-in regen. There was a good amount of equipments in his deck, he just didn't seem to draw them. On the flip side, while Jeff's deck may have been built hastily, he piloted it very well, whereas my deck was built with great deal of thought and time, and I played it very poorly. I made the same mistake with Mire Battlesphere twice with Toper Orb on the field, and it really cost me. There were also a few points where I could have attacked with Karn and gotten in for more damage, but I just completely forgot that he was a creature and instead kept him back on defense. Erebos, on the other hand, did exactly what he was built to do, be resilient, tough, and find answers for almost anything. Having a reliable card draw engine in your command zone is very, very powerful, and shutting off life gain, although not necessarily relevant to this game, is also a great effect. Matt's 2 favorite colors are blue and black, so he really found himself at home with this deck. He managed to skirt the line between threat and ally more often than not, and went relatively unmolested compared to Jeff and I. Well gang, that was another gameplay brought to you by me and some excellent friends. As of recording the audio for this, we've surpassed 750 subscribers, so that means 2 people are going to win next week, with one of them getting 2 boosters and another getting 4. As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.